Hello, and congratulations to the Bates graduating class of 2019. I know it's super cliche, but I think I need to hear it, and you need to hear it, and a lot of our parents need to hear it. We made it. And I hope I'm not alone when I say, that this feels like it was the fastest 4 years of my life mixed in with some of the slowest weeks of my life. Some of the slowest 1 hour and 20-minute chunks of my life. And I'm mostly talking about the 9:30 to 10:50, which is brutal. But we made it. We did something big and important, and it really feels like just yesterday I was just an awkward 18-year-old who didn't know her way around campus. Like just yesterday, we were all first years wondering if Bates was ever going to feel like where we belonged. I've always liked looking back, because looking back is a lot less stressful than looking forward. So today I want to go way back, elementary school level back to when we were all obsessed with really specific historical time periods. I loved Greek mythology, the stories and the drama. I was cast as Dionysus in a play in elementary school, and I probably danced harder in that fake beard and bedsheet toga than I ever have at any 80s. But beyond my early passion for petty arguments and party gods, I loved the lessons that Greek myths taught. The fates reassured me that everything happened for a reason, and Pandora reminded me that I don't need to open every box I come across. My favorite, though, was the story of Icarus. Maybe it was the monster, or the wings, or the fact that I thought Icarus was really cute, but I kept coming back to the story. Icarus and his father Daedalus are trapped on Crete after Daedalus builds a labyrinth to hold the Minotaur. In order to escape, Daedalus makes wings out of scattered seagull feathers and attaches them to their backs with hot wax. He warns Icarus not to fly too close to the sun, but Icarus, drunk on flight, goes too high and sets his wings ablaze. The lesson is clear. Hubris is a deadly thing. Have humility, avoid arrogance, don't aim too high. No one likes a cocky know-it-all, and everyone likes to see someone get what they deserve. But Daedalus doesn't just warn Icarus not to fly too close to the sun. He also warns him not to fly too low, because the ocean will drench his feathers and drag him down. There can be just as much danger in flying too low and keeping yourself down as there is in being too bold. And this past year, I found myself living my very own Icarus myth, complete with a Minotaur, a labyrinth, and that heart-stopping moment when you see the ocean rushing up to meet you. And I like to think that I'm not the only one who has experienced something like this, so today I want to explore our very own Icarus myth. First, what's our Minotaur? The monster in the maze, the very reason we're stranded. Minotaurs take lots of forms. Sometimes they're easy to understand, like an overflowing inbox, a failed test, too many deadlines. Sometimes they're more complex, like those days when den delivery is the only person you speak to and the crow-covered trees on campus seem a lot more ominous. We need to identify the Minotaur so we can leave it behind. It's time to build your wings. Daedalus used feathers, but I'm a vegan, so. Wings are best when they're made from things you pick up along your way. One of my feathers is the way my friend Cassidy looks at the passage of time. It's 4 p.m. on a Tuesday, so it's basically Wednesday, but Wednesday's fake, so jump to Thursday. But now it's snowing on Thursday, so we're at Friday, and that's like the weekend. Simple. Another feather is my twin sister Daly, and how I only realized we were best friends once we went to Bates together. Some feathers are things I made on my own, a good playlist, a nice nap, a planner so I stop forgetting things. The wax is the easiest part. It's made of your grit, your passions, your dreams and goals. It's made of those little heat waves that you can see radiating off of Garcelon on hot days, or when professors' dogs wag their tails at you from behind baby gates in Peagill. The feathers make it so you can fly, but the wax holds it all together. And now it's time to try flying, and that's scary. I leapt off my own tower about 5 minutes ago when I started writing this speech. I spent a lot of time writing this speech in my head, so when the time came to write it down and say it out loud, my first thought was, ooh, I sound like that? And my second thought was that I was so proud, because I can point to a lot of things that might have been my Minotaur. Maybe it was the geo class where I realized I like rocks, but not in that way. Maybe it was hearing about my friends' job interviews and the future they could see so clearly when I felt so blind. Maybe it was even the grayest short term ever. But the real monster in my maze was the fear that no matter what I did, it wouldn't be good enough because somehow I wasn't good enough. A crippling fear that told me it was better to do nothing than to do something that wasn't perfect. And I think a lot of us struggle with this kind of fear, because so much has been asked of us, not just by professors and parents, but by ourselves. Our identities become so wound up in this concept of perfection that we can't exist knowing that we might have made something imperfect. We are so afraid of reality and the difficulty of accomplishing things because the reality is we will fail sometimes. Everyone here has made mistakes, and everyone here will make plenty more. The risk for this graduating class is not burning wax into our backs because we try to fly too close to the sun. Instead, we risk drenching our wings in waves because we aren't flying high enough. We crash not because we dream too big, but because our doubts and fears drag us down. The Minotaur in the maze is why you jump, but the voice in your head is what drives you to the ocean, and no one ever talks about that part of the Icarus myth. About how salty waves can weaken the wax and weigh down feathers and bring just as much harm as the heat of the sun. I don't know what your wax or feathers are or how far your flight will be, but I know that every day I see people cutting their own wings, dragging their toes through the surf, and wondering why they can't quite fly right. We are barely airborne because every time we catch an updraft, we worry about the heat of the sun and the daunting open sky. But flying too low isn't as safe as we think it is. If you never push yourself, you can never fail, but isn't it a worse failure to never know what you really could have done? I flew a little further today because I'm here giving this speech. I did something that scared me, but I proved to myself that I could fly. We found our feathers at Bates. The lessons we learned and the experiences we had made the wax. We spent our time here living and learning and building our wings. It's the place that taught us to crave the freedom of flight. And now we're standing on the edge of a tower overlooking an ocean, and just on the horizon line, you can see everything you've ever wanted to be. Congratulations to everyone in the Bates class of 2019. We've accomplished so much, and there is so much in front of us. It's time to believe in yourself, in your victories and failures. It's time to feel the heat of the sun on your back. It's time to jump. Thank you.